Welcome to Money RX for CRNAs. I hear this all the time. I can't retire early because of healthcare. Well, if that's the voice in your head, then this episode is for you. Yes, healthcare can be expensive. And yes, there are changes coming that are going to make headlines and people nervous. I talk to so many CRNAs in their late 50s and early 60s who are so close to walking away from work. They're burned out, they have saved enough money, and these are still their good health years. But one fear holds them back: healthcare. Specifically, what if I retire and the cost of healthcare is so high that I regret not working longer? On the other side, I've seen CRNAs who did work longer just to get Medicare and then reach their 70s or 80s with millions and say, why didn't I retire earlier while I still had my energy? I don't want either outcome for you. So today, I'm going to show you why healthcare is not the reason to delay early retirement, and how once you understand one number, healthcare becomes simple math. Here's what we'll cover: the one number that controls your health insurance costs in early retirement, what actually counts as taxable income and what doesn't, real life examples showing couples retiring before age 65, spending well into six figures, and keeping healthcare from blowing up their plan, how the healthcare subsidy cliff works, especially with recent rule changes, and a framework to finally decide if healthcare should keep you working or if you're more ready to retire than you think. Let's start with the part that almost nobody explains clearly. Part 1, the one number that controls healthcare costs. You have been told that healthcare before Medicare is complicated and expensive. And you have probably heard about metal tiers, benchmark silver plans, premium tax credits, federal poverty levels. And so it sounds like you need a second degree in tax law just to figure out what your monthly premium is supposed to be. But under all that jargon, there's really just one number doing all the heavy lifting. That number is MAGI, Modified Adjusted Gross Income. Stay with me. Once you understand MAGI, healthcare gets dramatically easier. So here's the key idea. Your Affordable Care Act, also known as the ACA, healthcare premiums are based on your income, not your savings. So the ACA does not care how big your 401k is, or how much you have in Roth accounts, or how much cash you have, or even how much you spend. It only cares about MAGI, the income the IRS sees on your tax return. And that means that two people could each spend $100,000 a year, but one reports $100,000 in MAGI and gets zero help with healthcare premiums, and the other reports $40,000 in MAGI and receives thousands of dollars in healthcare subsidies. Same lifestyle, but very different healthcare premiums. And here's the wild part. You can have $2 million saved and still qualify for healthcare subsidies if your income is structured correctly. And you can have $200,000 saved and not qualify if all of it is in the wrong type of account. So let's break this down. Part 2, what counts as income and what doesn't. Think of your money sitting in different buckets. Some buckets create taxable income when you pull money out, and others give you spending money without raising MAGI much at all. So let's call bucket 1. This holds your money that counts towards MAGI, traditional IRA pre-tax withdrawals. 401k, 403b, 457 pre-tax withdrawals. wages or self-employment income if you're still working, taxable interest and dividends from brokerage accounts, realized capital gains when you sell investments in taxable accounts, and taxable Social Security benefits. Now, bucket 2. This one holds your money that does not count towards MAGI, Roth IRA withdrawals, cash savings you already paid taxes on, brokerage principal withdrawals, the money that you put in previously, after-tax contributions you already paid tax on. So here's the big thing that you need to know. Not every dollar you spend creates a dollar of income. If you want to spend $120,000 a year, your MAGI might be $40,000 if you blend these buckets correctly. And this is the heart of healthcare planning. That's how one couple can spend $120,000 per year and still qualify for massive healthcare subsidies, while another couple with the same spending pays full price for healthcare premiums. So let's look at what this looks like for real people. Part 3, case study number 1. Same lifestyle, different premiums. Meet Dana and Miguel. They're 60 years old and they want to retire tomorrow. But they're worried healthcare will be $2,000 a month until Medicare. So they keep telling themselves, we'll just grind this out until we're age 65. And here's what they've saved. $650,000 in traditional pre-tax retirement accounts, $250,000 in Roth, and $300,000 in brokerage and cash. So total investable assets, $1.2 million. They want to spend $110,000 per year. Now, here's what most people do. They say, we need $110,000. Let's pull $110,000 from the IRA. No, this is how you overpay for healthcare. Because in that scenario, MAGI equals $110,000. It all shows up as income on their tax return. So they blow past any healthcare subsidy limits, and they pay full price on premiums. Now, full price healthcare premiums for a 60-year-old couple could easily be $24,000 per year. 5 years of that before Medicare is more than $100,000. Same lifestyle, but very expensive mistake. Now watch what happens when they blend buckets wisely. They still spend $110,000, but they pull $35,000 from pre-tax retirement. Again, this counts towards MAGI. $25,000 from Roth does not count toward MAGI. $40,000 from brokerage and cash does not count toward MAGI. And maybe $10,000 is capital gains, counts towards MAGI. Now their MAGI is only about $45,000. So they live on 6 figures, but look like a modest income household on paper. And in many states, a couple of that income level might qualify for a hefty premium tax credit, often well over $1,000 per month. And if that's the case, bronze coverage may be free. Silver coverage might be a few thousand per year, and gold coverage might still be affordable. Same spending, same vacations, but completely different healthcare premiums. This saves potentially $15,000 to $20,000 per year for the exact same lifestyle. Over 5 years, that's $75,000 to $100,000 that stays in their pocket, just because they understood one number, MAGI. This is how the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, is designed. Part 4, the subsidy cliff. Let's talk about the cliff I mentioned. Under the Affordable Care Act, subsidies are based on your income relative to the federal poverty level. Historically, once you cross 400% of that number, subsidies shut off just like a light switch. So below the line, subsidies are on and you get some financial help. Go $1 above the line and subsidies are gone. You're cut off and pay full price. Now, recent laws have softened that cliff, but they may expire. So here's what that means to you. If your MAGI is near the threshold, just going a tiny bit over could cost you thousands. But if you're spending $200,000 a year because that is your lifestyle, then even full price healthcare is annoying, yes, but still a small percentage of your budget, usually 7 to 11%. Now again, that's not fun, but rarely a reason to delay retirement if everything else works. Part 5, a case study, worst case planning. Let's look at another example. Meet Chris and Angela. He's 56, she's 54. And if they keep working until age 62, they will have around $3.8 million saved. They want freedom, travel, and future time with grandkids. But they're terrified of rising healthcare premiums. So here's what we do. Step 1, build their normal plan. Retire at age 62 and 60. Spend $80,000 per year. That's their lifestyle. Assume $8,000 per person per year for healthcare. So we end up pulling $96,000 per year from their portfolio. Their plan works. They still have money in their 90s. So now we move to step 2. We turn up the healthcare dial. Assume $14,000 per person for healthcare per year. We end up pulling $108,000 per year from their portfolio, and their plan supports it. It still works. It might be tighter, but it's still fully viable. Now step 3, ultra worst case. We add $50,000 a year in travel, and we assume $18,000 per person for healthcare per year. So we end up pulling $166,000 per year from their portfolio. And finally, the plan breaks. They run out of money in their late 80s. So this is the moment that actually matters. Because now, instead of vague fear like, what if healthcare ruins us, we look at the different levers we can pull. Work 2 more years. Maybe reduce the travel budget. Maybe take a bit more investment risk. And suddenly, the fear turns into a plan. So this is why you model worst case scenarios, not to scare yourself, but to understand exactly what levers you have to pull. Part 6, the hidden problem. Qualified rich, cash poor. Now here's a big one. A lot of CRNAs are what I call qualified rich, cash poor. They max out their 401k or 403b for 20 years, and they've done a great job saving. But by age 60 years old, they have $1.5 million in pre-tax retirement accounts, $60,000 in Roth, and $50,000 in brokerage and cash. So $1.6 million plus. Now on paper, this is amazing. They look rich. But in practice, they have very limited flexibility because every withdrawal from their pre-tax retirement accounts is taxable income. So their MAGI is going to be high no matter what. And healthcare subsidies, for them, it's out of reach. And large required minimum distributions, RMDs, are going to hit them later. Now compare that to someone who saves enough in the 401k or 403b to get the match, but then routes extra savings into brokerage or Roth. They might have $1 million in pre-tax retirement accounts, $200,000 in Roth, and $300,000 in brokerage and cash. Same total dollars, 1.6 million plus, but totally different options. They can pull from brokerage principal and Roth to keep MAGI low. So this is why tax diversification is one of the biggest gifts you can give your future self. And now part 7, your 3 big levers in the retirement gap. Now there's a window that's incredibly valuable in financial planning, and I call it the retirement gap. It starts when you stop working full-time, and it ends when Social Security and required minimum distributions, RMDs, begin. During that time, you control your income entirely, and you have the ability to engineer years of low MAGI. So here are your top 3 levers that you can pull. Lever 1, keep MAGI low. This helps you maximize healthcare subsidies. Lever 2, Roth conversions. This raises MAGI on purpose so you pay less tax later. And lever 3, capital gain harvesting. This lets you intentionally realize gains at very low tax rates. Now, there is no single right strategy, but you design it based on your goals. Part 8, a simple framework to make healthcare easy. Let's make this practical. Here is a checklist for you to take away from this episode. Number 1, list your current buckets. List out your pre-tax accounts, your 401ks, 403bs, traditional IRA, your Roth accounts, your taxable brokerage accounts, cash savings, CDs, money markets, and HSAs, which can be triple tax advantaged if used well. Now, if 90 to 100% of your assets are in pre-tax accounts, you're in that qualified rich, cash poor danger zone. So you might want to consider contributing enough to get the full employer match, but then direct any additional savings into brokerage rather than maxing pre-tax every single year. And step 2, estimate your MAGI. If you retired next year, where would the money actually come from? MAGI or not MAGI? 3, model a worst case scenario. Pick a realistic but conservative number for pre-Medicare healthcare, like $15,000 per person per year. And with your current savings, your retirement age, and desired lifestyle, ask yourself, even if I never optimize healthcare subsidies, am I still okay? If yes, then healthcare is not the monster your brain has made it out to be. If no, well, now you can pull different levers. Maybe work 1 to 3 more targeted years, increase savings into brokerage, or reduce some spending that you had planned. This brings you to number 4. Know your subsidy range, and rough numbers are enough. You just want to avoid accidentally crossing the cliff. So what MAGI range keeps you eligible for ACA subsidies once the 400% cliff is fully back in play? And what do premiums look like just below that line? And 5, adjust your saving strategy. If everything is in pre-tax, how much of your annual spending can you fund from brokerage principal, Roth accounts, or cash savings? And how much room do you have left to pull from pre-tax accounts without flying over the cliff amount? Even shifting $20,000 to $30,000 of withdrawals from pre-tax to Roth or brokerage can make the difference between heavy subsidy and none at all. And 6, be mindful of Social Security. Once you turn Social Security on, your income flexibility decreases forever. Okay, let's bring this home. So the big question isn't, I can't retire early because of healthcare. Now, sometimes that's true, But far more often, you're overestimating the cost and underestimating the control that you have. So healthcare is not a reason to automatically delay retirement. Once you understand MAGI and how to blend your withdrawals, healthcare planning becomes predictable, plannable, and manageable. It becomes one line item in a well-designed plan and not the reason to stay in a job that's burning you out. So your next steps: list your buckets, estimate your MAGI, model the worst case, and see if you're actually already okay. Because once you run your own numbers, you may discover you're closer to early retirement than you ever imagined. Thank you for spending this time with me. And if someone you love keeps saying that they can't retire because of healthcare, well then send this episode to them. Because once you understand this one number, healthcare becomes easy. And I'll see you in the next episode.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. This podcast does not engage in rendering legal, financial, or other professional services.